I am massively excited about sharing this stuff here with you guys. The Rat King, the newest weapon in Fortnite Save the World, available right now along with the Gravedigger in the weekly store. It is my new favorite weapon. I've only had it for a few hours, so this review, this look into the weapon is of course based on this very limited amount of time, but I am truly impressed. So here we have it, the Rat King. New crazy weapon that can only really be compared with the Hammer Crush and the Hydra. The Hydra being my previous main weapon. Again, we're going shells but counting as an assault rifle, which in my opinion gives a decent amount of control for really tough opponents. So we have slow fire rate, small mag size, high impact, slow reload, low crit but crazy damage. And as this is how the weapon looked when I got it. So of course the first thing that I did was to look into what kind of perks do I have on it. I wanted to start off by just trying out the weapon the way it was from the shop so that I got an idea about how it was. So first thing, of course, I'm going to be going all the way up to power level 130, maxing this out as a Sunbeam weapon. But first stop is of course to check out the Obsidian versus Shadow Shot on this weapon here to see what is the benefit, what is the loss on doing the different things. Obviously Shadow Shot is the way to go for most things in the game, but I wanted to see what the decrease was on the fire rate just to get an idea before I made my final selection. But going Shadow Shot with it, higher impact, slower attacks and more damage, putting it up to start with to level 40 just because I wanted to compare it with one of my Hydras that I haven't fully maxed perked yet, that is power level 106 as well. And here we really have the two up against each other. So what we can see here is higher base damage on the Rat King, which is pretty cool, also giving higher headshot damage, lower critical hit damage because it's a perk on the Hydra that I have. So again, fire rate, we can see some difference there, longer range on the Rat King, also pretty nice, and of course we have the impact slightly higher as well. So that is stuff to look into. An important thing about the Rat King is that the fifth perk on it means that you deal additional damage on the second shot or to anything that is slowed or snared. So that is really food for thought. It is an extra thing that isn't really counted. I knew in advance that I wanted to make a nature element weapon because it is the one thing I actually miss in my Hydra collection is a nature element Hydra. So I wanted to make the Rat King a nature element and just compare it now with fully upgraded perks to my other Hydra that is almost fully upgraded, just once again to see where do we stand in terms of damage. And in many ways I really feel that the Rat King starts to shine already here, really with the weapon being a bit higher hitting, harder hitting, a bit slower. But that is kinda okay because the Hydra is not really a creep control weapon and neither is the Rat King. And this here is how they compare at power level 106 with fully perks on the Rat King and almost full perks on my Hydra. So I was pretty excited to go in and check out this weapon, but before I did that, before I nudged things, just gonna be saying here that the 45% additional damage to slowed and snared is something that doesn't count unless I have shot these opponents once first so that they are hit with this option or they have been slowed or snared by something else, such as spike traps on the floors, for instance. That could be a thing. So there are many ways that you can really take advantage of these additional 45% additional damage. Both of these deal 20% additional damage to a single element. As you can see, many of these perks are pretty much the same. We just have more crit damage on the Hydra, where I have base damage to slowed and snared on the Rat King, which I think I actually really like. And then of course we don't have the explosion option on headshot eliminations, but we have the slowing option. So that is how these weapons are against each other. So with this weapon here, I've spent some time comparing it. I went in and of course I leveled it up to power level 130, maxing it out completely so that I have my Sunbeam weapon with maxed out perks. I didn't change any perks yet because I wanted to go in and find out, do I want a larger magazine size on it? Do I want even more reload speed? How does this weapon really work for me when I'm playing with it in different situations? And the damage was real. The damage was really real, and it actually felt very much like playing with the Hydra. I could feel that it was a slower weapon. I do like the new sounds on it, and of course as a nature element weapon it dealt less damage to fire element husks and more to water. So I tested out all those things, not because I was expecting they would be working any different, but just because it's a nice thing to do. Pitted it up against some blasters, all kinds of different husks, find out how is the impact, how does this weapon work compared to the Hydra that I normally main and really enjoy playing, and it felt like the same weapon. It was a little slower, it dealt a little bit more damage, nothing that I really noticed at this point in the gaming, so I was pretty happy about actually getting another type of Hydra for my collection. So that all in all was a very cool start of the gaming. But the next step was where things got really interesting, because I took my 30 critical rating perk and I decided to replace it with something else, because I don't have high crit damage on this weapon as I do on the Hydra. It made no sense to really crit. Like 28% higher chance to deal 50% additional damage is to me a really bad deal. So my main focus was, do I want damage or headshot damage as this perk? And I think in general you probably want the 40% headshot damage, but the way I play, I'm not that focused on headshotting really. I try obviously, but in most cases perhaps I'm hitting things from the back and something like that. So I decided to go in with my 30% damage so that I have 60% additional base damage, no higher crit chance, no higher crit damage, and of course on top of that we have these 45% if things are slowed and snared, and the weapon causes that as well. So this here is the weapon that I ended with. I tested it like crazy for games up to the part where I started making this video, and I am super excited about it. And as you can see here, compared to my Hydra, max godly perked favorite weapon in the game up to this point, also 20% additional damage. That one is energy, this one is nature, so obviously I'm going to be pulling it out against water element husks, and I am very happy. Like the DPS is unreal. As you can see, 92,000 DPS, 51,000 damage when I hit with it. Of course, I don't have this crazy chance to deal a lot of silly damage when I crit, because I only have a 10% chance to do that and only 50% additional damage. We have a slower fire rate, it's a thing, of course it is, but we have longer range, which in general just means a lower, less reduction on damage if I'm standing a little further away from the husks, which is a pretty cool thing. The reload time is a little bit slower, but nothing that I really feel when I'm playing, so it doesn't really matter. That's to me, I feel, and a little bit more impact wise, I didn't feel much of a difference. So this is like a Hydra that just deals more damage. That is how it felt to me, so I'm very excited about it actually. And it slows things, which is very nice when you are kiting things around, dealing with tougher opponents. So this here, guys, is my perfectly perked Rat King, my replacement for Hydra, at least when I'm playing up against water element husks. I had it in for quite a few different missions. As you can see here, we're up against power level 130 husks. These are nature elements. I tried blasters, takers, smashers, all sorts of different opponents to find out, do I want to nudge this weapon anymore? And based on my day one gaming, there is no other way I would rather have my Rat King than what I have right now. It works like a charm. It was super amazing to play with. In fact, I was so happy playing with this weapon that I started just making them, dropping them to other players that I encountered while playing these missions, because I was actually surprised that we got a new weapon that was so cool. I haven't been this amazed by a weapon for a very long time in Fortnite Save the World, and it's my kind of weapon. It's like a substitute or addition to my Hydra collection, so it was really cool. So I'm very curious, guys, have you guys tried out the Rat King? What do you guys feel about it? What about the perks? What perks have you selected for it? Are you going crazy headshot style? Do you want the larger ammo size? This time I decided just to focus purely on the weapon, as I am playing it here on day one with my main hero in the missions I've been doing today. Boosted up, not boosted up, just having crazy amounts of fun and dropping it right and left. And I don't know if it's because of the new anti-taxi system, but no players that I offered this weapon today accepted to take it for free. So yeah, I've been getting material compensations and even more back. It has been crazy, and I'm not even a trading kind of guy. So crazy cool updates for Fortnite, amazing new weapon that this is gonna be my new main thing against any type of water element husk. Of course not the small ones. The creep is gonna be handled by my shock tower, my teddy tower, my hover turrets, but against the tougher things, the husky husks, the like crazy smashers, whatever we might be seeing, such as the riots, this here is my new go-to weapon. I can definitely recommend that you guys try it out if you don't have it already. It is the best buy in the store in my opinion. Of course, I know a lot of players want the Gravedigger. There's also a really good weapon, but the Rat King, it is the Rat King. That was what I had to share in this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, thank you very much for watching. Oh yeah, and a side note, I have been approved as a content creator by Epic Games, so if you guys want to be supporting me in there, my in-game name, my tag, my Epic Creator tag is Loki Hansen, just as I'm called in-game. That was what I had to share in this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, thank you very much for watching.